back to My Dad Watches The Bachelor. I'm Meredith, and I'm here with my co-host, my dad.
Hey, Meredith, how's it going today?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Trying to stay healthy and safe, and just stay at home and watch important shows like The Bachelor.
I know. I mean, we don't have anything else going on these days, and what are you gonna do on a Monday night when it's really cold outside? You're gonna watch The Bachelor.
Or the NCAA football championship. There was a little challenge with that, but that game went on till midnight, so I was able to see the end.
Oh, good for you. I didn't watch any of that.
Well, neither your team or my team was playing, but I like a good football game.
So before we dive into last night's episode, I have some housekeeping for us to go over.
Okay.
Okay. Claire Crawley has been seen out with a new man. And this man was on her season, and she sent him home very early, like night 1 or episode 2, that early, because, Claire only had like 4 episodes anyways. And his name is Blake Monar. And you probably don't recognize this name, but this is important housekeeping to me because Blake Monar is who I picked to win Claysha's season.
Okay. Well, that's great. I knew that we had Blakes around. I guess this is a different Blake than Canadian Blake that ended up with Katie, I guess, Katie Thurston, for a short period of time. So, well, that's good. So maybe you'll be vindicated in some of the picking where I've been beating you like a drum.
Yeah, I just wanted to say retroactively I win that season now.
Okay. Do you have other housekeeping, or is that it?
No, that was it. Just wanted to toot my horn a little.
Because to me, it's a little bit of a segue into one of my first highlights, in that it sort of tickles me that Jesse Palmer keeps telling everybody that he's a happily married man and neglecting to say that it's not to the person he met on The Bachelor. I just find this amusing. It happened again last night when he introduced himself as the host to the ladies. And he seems to just want to skate right over that, and sort of present The Bachelor as this wonderful matchmaking machine, and it's not.
Yeah, my roommate and I commented on that last night while we were watching. We are like, he's not with who won his show. This is weird.
And he seems very quick to not want to mention that. Let's move along.
Okay, interesting. Hi. What else do you have?
Well, I just wrote down this to me. I was just amused that when I look at Clayton, he sort of reminds me of a Frankenstein type monster, and I just wonder if he was not the quote unquote lead on this show. Do you think that he would be having trouble getting dates? I'm not sure if this is a highlight, low light, or what. I'm just sort of, it was more of an observation.
I put this more in the low lights, but yes, I personally don't find Clayton appealing at all. Like, I am not into him. Don't think he's cute. It's all over TikTok that Clayton has basically matched on dating apps with every single girl in Missouri, and that he's like a walking red flag. People that went to Mizzou, would warn each other, oh, look out for Clayton Echard. He's not a good guy. Like, blah, blah, blah. This has been seen on TikTok. So it's some interesting info that we're getting here.
I'm not on the TikTok, but and to me, Clayton seems like a nice guy. He just seems like a big average guy.
He's so boring.
Okay. He's so boring. I mean, he's a big galoot. So I'm just sort of curious to how young ladies like yourself are perceiving him. So anyway,
I was cringing so much last night. Every time Clayton would go in for a kiss, he always had always had to end it kind of with like a little one-liner before he would go in. I don't know what it was, but it's like with Elizabeth, they were playing Never Have I Ever, and just like Never Have I Ever Kissed the Bachelor, and he just has to do a little one-liner. He's like, oh, well, I think we can change that, and then leans in for the kiss, and it's just gross.
Well, he does seem like he wants to kiss all of the girls. He's not shy about that.
Yeah, so that's a low for me, but
okay. I sort of like I'm learning things. When Clayton was in the hot tub with Susie, he wanted to make sure that everyone knows that he's not this bougie. And I think I wasn't sure what that meant when we first got started, and I guess he's not like one of those rich upper class people that spends too much time in the hot tub.
Well, no, he's from Missouri.
There are probably wealthy people in Missouri.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the state you would automatically think of when you think of bougie. I don't think it's in your top 10. I don't think it's in your top 25.
I hadn't really thought of bougie until this season. So I'm learning some new words. I'm enjoying that.
There you go. Well, that's put me into my first high, which was the first hot tub sighting of the season. I think we should try and have a hot tub count this season.
Okay.
So we're at 1.
Okay.
Should we set an over-under where we think it'll be?
How many episodes do we have?
Like 10-ish? I think let's set it at 3.5.
I'm taking the over.
I would also take the over.
Okay. I was thinking 5 to 6, so I like the over. So,
okay.
I guess the person that won the group date challenge, well, the group date obstacle course challenge, I think was Sarah. I think our wealth advisor from New York, I think, and
our 23-year-old wealth advisor.
Well, I was struggling to find highs, so I go Sarah. So I was pleased that she won the obstacle course, just so Mean Girl Sinead didn't win it.
Yeah, I only had 2 highs today. My other one was that we got some nice live music from a potential up-and-coming country singer, Anna Jordan. I like that we get to see some of these singers come in because sometimes they actually do become something, and that's exciting to think. I saw them first on The Bachelor.
Okay, I mean some of the acts that they bring on appeal to me more than others. Yeah, she was a meh to me. It didn't really do that much for me, but fine.
That's all my highs.
Well, you won't appreciate my last high, which was the commercial for Judge Steve Harvey, and which just tickles me, who is the judge of common sense, and he is too fly to wear a robe. See, I'm just digging this new terminology. I don't know what too fly means, but I guess he means he's too cool to wear a robe. I don't know, but I'm a Steve Harvey fan, and I'm enjoying the concept of the Judge Steve Harvey.
Okay, I think we need to make a new rule that we no longer put in our Bachelor episode discussions things that don't happen on the show, aka commercials or the show that comes on after The Bachelor.
I can't help myself. I'm a shill for ABC.
Okay. I guess I sort of have another high, but it's sort of a low. We got to see Hilary Duff in this episode on the first group date, and apparently she's a big Bachelor fan. She's now a mom to 3. I think she's like 33 or 34 years old. And she helped host a birthday party for a child. I thought it might be her child. No, just a random child. But it goes into my low of why are we setting up for a child's birthday party with Hilary Duff? This is like the most random group date ever. This is not like a fun activity. It just felt weird. And I think the only reason it's happening is because the only thing we know about Clayton is that Michelle's students liked him. So these random kids at the birthday party, they'll probably like Clayton too. Let's do something with kids.
Well, I did not realize that none of these children were associated to Hilary Duff. So that is pretty weird. And I took it the same way that you're taking it, in that one of the few things that we know about Clayton is that he's good at connecting with children. So he's going to get into the bouncy area and let them pelt him with water balloons. Although these children, unlike the children that we met during Michelle's episode, seemed to be very rude and obnoxious. And it looked like they just told the kids to run around and be jerks. And that's what they seemed to be doing. So was not a very satisfying sort of a group date situation there.
No, I would have much preferred some like pillow fight wrestling.
As a low light, I did put down that I thought there was a little bit of over exuberance for Hillary Duff. And I remember Hillary Duff from some shows when you were a younger person. I don't really know
Lizzie
which.
McGuire.
Okay, I don't think I paid too much attention to them. I don't. Was it Shanae who was the person that was uh, going crazy? It was
No,
one of the
Shanae
blonde
was not
girls.
on that date. It was Cassidy.
Okay, Cassidy, was she the one saying how wonderful that she was a big Hillary Duff fan? Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
She was a little over the top.
She was a little over the top, but people my age, Hillary Duff was like a cool star growing up.
Okay, okay.
My next low is that I just don't really believe that any of these women are into Clayton. And it makes it kind of hard for me to watch the show because I think everyone's faking it.
Well, I guess I would. I don't know. To me, it's so early in this whole process for these people to be saying, "Oh, I'm so into you," or we have such a strong connection anyway. Maybe at some point you do or you will, but um, it just seems very unrealistic to think any of that's happening now. And yeah, I mean, I question any of these girls really thinking that there's something too serious going on there. They're playing the game at this point in time. Some are obviously playing the game, and that sort of gets to our two mean girls, Cassidy, who seems very happy to get on the camera and tell everybody that she's got no interest in making friends. She's got no interest in activities. She's just there to get Clayton and stomp on people all the way. And then her apprentice, Shanae, what's her name? Shanae?
Shanono.
Shanono, who is basically taking lessons from Cassidy on how to get that man and
Is somehow more nuts.
and go and be more nuts. So um, yeah, I mean, I wrote down as a low light that to me. I think that Clayton appears just totally in over his head. I just get the sense, I don't do any background checking on how active he is on dating apps or whatnot, but he just strikes me as a kid in a candy store that all of a sudden has 20 beautiful girls that want to make out with him. And he's happy to oblige them and basically is he's in over his head. He's very susceptible to someone like Cassidy who wants to sit on his lap and lick his neck or whatever she's going to do to get his attention. And I just think this is not going to end well for anyone.
Yeah, I think as of last night's episode, I'm officially like anti Clayton. And I kind of hope he ends up with someone like a Cassidy or a Shanae. I don't want him to be with someone cool like Susie.
Yeah, yeah. I hear what you're saying. I don't really want him. I'm pulling for him. I think he seems like a nice guy. I just don't think he really. I don't think he really belongs on this show. So anyway,
my last low is Shanae knocking some chicks down in the relationship red flags obstacle course. Not the knocking them down, but knocking them down and not even winning. If you're gonna make some enemies, you better make it worth it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I have. When we talk about wrong reasons, I'm happy to talk about our friend Shanae. But yeah, she basically, both she and Cassidy are just talking way too much to the camera. I mean, I have to think that most people that come on this show are experienced enough or have watched this show to know that everything's going to end up on camera. And if you want to come off as a jerk, they're going to be happy to oblige you. And it sort of seems like done that calculation, and they don't care. Although I got the sense at least one of them, I think Shanae, I got the sense might have been a bit overserved during at least one of the rose ceremonies.
Well, I feel like Cassidy she knows what she's doing in her one-on-one interviews, and Shanae, I get the vibe that she doesn't really know what she's doing and how she's going to be portrayed. She she seems more simple-minded than Cassidy. I think let's just go ahead and get into our wrong reasons while we're here.
Okay.
So I'm sure we both have Cassidy and Shanae.
I have Cassidy, Shanae, and I actually threw Clayton in there too.
I'm fine with that.
In that, I just think even at 250 pounds, he's boxing above his weight class, and someone like Susie just comes off as so out of his league that I'm just not sure what he's doing there. So, yeah, but I also did have Cassidy and Shanae, and I would give Shanae, if I had to pick one wrong reason, I would go with Shanae, sort of for the reasons that you were saying, in that um, you could make a case for Cassidy being there for the right reasons, in that at least she's honest about why she's there, and Shanae, on the other hand, I think is just sort of an erratic, crazy person that I would avoid at all costs.
Yeah, I put Cassidy first because that's what we got first in the episode. I wrote down she lives in a life of delusion where her main goal is to mount Clayton poolside.
Okay.
She was just on top of that man as much as she could be. And I'm assuming she's seen the show before, the way that she was coaching Shanae. So that's why I believe that she knows what she's doing when she's making herself the villain. But I have seen, apparently, she's posted stories to her Instagram where she's talking like very similarly as she does on the show. So it's not like just an act she's putting on for the show to get screen time. Like that seems to be who she actually is, which is unfortunate.
So in terms of the wrong reason or just levels of evilness, how do Cassidy and Shanae rank for you?
I think that Shanae is misguided, but she's doing more damage than Cassidy did. You know, her conflict with Elizabeth was absolutely ridiculous. It seemed to me that Shanae went to Clayton and made up this red flag about Elizabeth being two-faced because Elizabeth got to talk to Clayton first when Shanae wanted to. That's the whole reason. You know, if Rachel or Sarah had pulled Clayton first, you know, they could have been the one that had the red flag of being two-faced.
I agree with you, and I feel bad for Elizabeth, and that I don't know if she's good, bad, or indifferent, but I think she is getting dragged into the mud and not deserving to be dragged into the mud at this point in time, and and Shanae throwing out this Elizabeth saying, part of the reason that I might not have been listening to you is I have ADHD, and now Shanae is taking that and basically throwing it all over the place and being a real jerk about it. So I found her to be the worst of the two.
Yeah, you know, she told the whole group that Elizabeth had ADHD, which was not her information to share, and then, you know, is basically sarcastically talking to Elizabeth saying, "Oh, I have ADHD too," or like, "Your ADHD is just an excuse for you to forget things you said to me and be two-faced." And this conflict is really coming out of nowhere, and we don't really understand why it's happening, and Shanae just doesn't really seem to want to drop it. And we see in the previews that we will continue to have it next week.
Well, and of course, this all comes on the heels of our last episode where we left all these ladies toasting one another about how they've never been with such a wonderful group of people that support one another, and we sort of knew that was not going to continue.
Yeah. Well, Shanae seems like a total nutcase. She could have been overserved. She could just be a little missing a little bit of her brain. I don't know. But she does not seem to live on the same planet as we do.
So
Reality.
so who did you come up with for the right reason for this particular episode?
I gave the right reason to Elizabeth because I thought she handled the confrontation with Shanae really maturely, considering Shanae basically made up a lie about her. And Elizabeth spoke to Clayton about how she was always trying to be kind to Shanae, and I don't feel like she got too upset or defensive about it. And when she spoke to Shanae the first time, she was as rational and calm as you could expect one to be when you're talking to someone who's basically acting delusional.
I think that's a great choice. I didn't think of it, so I give you that credit. I struggled to find a right reason in this particular episode. That's probably the best one. I mean, there was one of the ladies that would, when Shanae was crying and babbling about the fact that she wasn't getting in time, went to try to console Shanae. I think it was Marlena. I don't know, but whomever that is, I at least she seemed sincere in trying to say, "Hey, you're obviously upset. What's going on? Can I help you?" Probably before she realized that Shanae is just evil. I don't think that she was trying to collaborate or anything. She seemed to really care. So I think it was Marlena, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but then
Whomever it was.
she didn't put two and two together after she tried to console Shanae, and Shanae's just talking mad crap about Elizabeth, and then they're all sitting around, and Clayton tries to pull Elizabeth for a talk again and he looks upset, and all the girls are like, something must have happened, someone must have said something, and she's just sitting there having no realization that, oh, it was probably Shanae who was just crying and talking about how much of a bitch that Elizabeth was.
I'm reaching for something here. Okay, I appreciate the effort. So that's the only thing I could come up with.
Okay. Well, I think I won the right reason this week.
I agree.
All right. Next, MVP. We haven't talked about her too much, but Susie got the first one-on-one date of the season, and she just seems so awesome to me. Very not even normal. She's better than normal and very cool, fun, quirky. She said something in her interview before her one-on-one about how, she was excited to spend time with Clayton, but wanted to make sure they would vibe and he wouldn't think she was weird. And she didn't seem just she was going to be 100% head over heels. She wanted to make sure it was a good match. And she just seems way too cool for Clayton. And I hope she doesn't win because she would be a really good bachelorette or queen of paradise. But I also didn't see them have any conversations where it was oh, they have a good connection. It's just they talk about, oh, we have a good connection.
Yeah, it seemed like she was trying real hard to make conversation, and it just seems like he's not a great converser.
No, he's not.
And she was making the effort. She seems lovely. Um, we know from her bio that she's a former, I think, Miss Virginia. So she's been through the beauty pageant thing, which I think probably helps people with the poise and being able to, look into people's eyes and have these conversations, whatever the conversations might be. Conversations probably a little bit of a overkill there, but she seemed to have a very good night, and yeah, she seems delightful.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about that top 4 pick for the two of us.
Yeah, I think that she'll be there as long as she wants to be. I wonder if, as you were saying, I wonder if some of these ladies at some point have some realization that this is not the guy for me. I need to gracefully leave. Although graceful and The Bachelor are generally not two words that go together.
They realize Clayton's not for them, and they've been there long enough that they've gotten enough Instagram followers and can probably make it to paradise.
Yeah. Susie seems nice. I hope she doesn't go to paradise. Come on.
I think she definitely has bachelorette potential.
I would agree with that.
She, to me, looks like Hannah Brown a lot.
Okay, well, I couldn't pick Hannah Brown out, but anyway, that's fine.
Okay, do you have some fatherly advice to wrap us up?
So number one, and I guess I got this from listening to Cassidy, is beware of hubris and overconfidence. Cassidy just comes off as, oh, I'm going to stay here as long as I want, yada yada yada, and it's very grating, and sooner or later it's going to bite her in the butt. And she's I in normal times, if we had a bachelor that could put two and two together, she'd be gone. I assume that will happen, but maybe not. So beware of your, let's all try to stay on an even keel out there. I am not the style expert, but I took note that Clayton on the first group date was wearing a hoodie and a sport coat together. And, I'm older. I couldn't get away with that, but I'm assuming that I think we got to take off some style points there. I don't think you're supposed to wear your sport coat with your hoodie. Maybe I'm old fashioned, but I found that problematic. Do you have any feelings on this?
I don't hate the look, but it's definitely not for older people.
Okay. So when you and I go to visit Grandpa Steve, I should not take the hoodie sport coat look down to Florida.
No, or your jeans.
Moving along. Finally, my last piece of advice. Clayton seems at the very end of this episode, one of the women goes to, maybe Sierra goes to Clayton and says, by the way, I overheard, I was talking to Cassidy. She's got a man on the side back home, and Clayton is very upset by this. And I number one, found it amusing that the guy that's dating 20 women might be upset that, one of the ladies might have a man back home. But with that said, in terms of fatherly advice, if you're seriously going to date somebody, and I'm not sure we are in this show, but if you are, and this is for you, Meredith, and other folks, try monogamy. Monogamy can be a good thing. Let's stick with one guy. And if you're going to date someone, even in a non-serious way, I don't think that you should go about bragging about your friends with benefits relationship to other people, because I suspect it could get back to the person that you might be dating. So those would be my two pieces of, or my various pieces of fatherly advice today.
That's good. We didn't even talk about that little to be continued part at the end there with Cassidy's friends with benefits. To me, it's not that big of a deal that she has a friend with benefits back home. It's not like a boyfriend. It's not the same thing. She's not like in a relationship with anyone. But as we've discussed already, we think that she's seen the show plenty of times and is, she's working with what she knows there. And I feel like she should have known better than to go and tell someone that she has this guy that she was FaceTiming right before the show started that wants to see her afterwards, that they're planning to watch the show back together. That was a dumb move on Cassidy's part.
Seemed that way to me as well. So anyway, that's my fatherly advice for the week.
Great. Well, that's actually going to have to last us 2 weeks because there is no new episode next week.
I saw that we would be back in 2 weeks. So, unless we want to clean out the Dad Watches The Bachelor mailbag next week, we won't be back for 2 weeks.
No, I think we're going to take a little break, let you watch some Monday Night Football in peace. And I think that it'll be nice to have a little downtime from looking at Clayton's face.
I think we've only been into this for 2 weeks, right? We've only had 2 episodes and you already need downtime. That doesn't bode well for poor Clayton.
No, it really doesn't. But anyways, if you're enjoying the podcast, make sure to comment, rate, subscribe to us anywhere you listen to podcasts. I'd like to thank The Mesh for producing our podcast, as well as our producer Moose, who always just loves listening to us talk about The Bachelor. That's all we've got. So join us in 2 weeks to hear more about Clayton's season from the right perspectives and my dad.